scrutiny. So it is definitely important for me to interface with people in my constituent, which is the Kanifing municipality. We engaged in a 2-week-long mayor's dialogue, and we just met 19 wards and 19 communities. So I thought it prudent, why don't we also meet one of our most important constituents, which is the best and the brightest, the students of the Kanifing municipality. So I am here to answer every and any question you may have, with some limitations, but I am today at your service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Are we ready now? Yep. Okay. Hold on, they're bringing the mic to you. Do not forget, please tell us your name, school, and what you're studying. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Assalamu alaikum everyone, my fellow academics. It's a pleasure to meet all of us in this very important initiative. But the question I want to ask Mayor is that this initiative is very important. It's an important initiative, but I was suggesting like it could have been the best initiative since at your initial stage by the time you step in office. Like for say, let's say every 3 months or every 6 months, at least you can have this dialogue with the students and the challenges they are facing. I think it's also very important because there are some challenges you can bypass the protocol and go directly to the State House to meet the President. As we all fall in the country municipality, I believe that's the right protocol. So right now I'm bringing to you like, I have the belief that I'm confident that we'll win the election because we have seen what we have been doing. Yeah, because we have been following your CAS project and we have seen what you did. And in this country, it's very easier to see the visibility of the people who are working. But one thing I want to make sure that after the election, please, you and your team, let's say every 3 or every 6 months, try to have this initiative with the students because the students they are facing a lot of challenges. As a student leader, we know how the students are facing. Yeah, I'm sorry for letting me introduce myself. My name is Babur Kasama. I'm the SG of the MBA Students Union. I'm studying banking and finance at the higher national diploma level. Thank you.
Thank you, Babukar. I think that's a very important question. Just so you know, maybe many have not been following, but the Mayor's Dialogue, this is the 3rd edition. We held the first one in 2018 and 2019, and in 2020, of course, there was coronavirus, and we couldn't hold public events again. We wanted to hold actually this Mayor's Dialogue in 2022, but given logistics and delays, we had to hold it now. But I think I've been meeting students throughout my time as mayor. I think if you ask your various university associations, of course the UTG-SU, Gambia College, Gambia Nursing School, I have met all your leadership and committees at different times during my time as mayor. But this idea of having it as a general interface is a novel idea for Gambia. However, we see it in other countries. We see, for example, Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, who has a youth forum every year. So in this edition of the Mayor's Dialogue, we thought we would add it, but I think that's a great suggestion. I think this is something we will look to be doing in the foreseeable future. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Question number 2. You? Okay.
Can I use the local language? Kaya kontaan ko si malaf la kadiya mandega kan mbadiya na mandega kan ina ka wala ikanyamo faidan dumping site bakote niaji bakote dumping site do ba fala satele dumping site taraje do ba fala dumping site wala sate taraje babira ta da fakuma da fata jada kan da karola wala site jada dumping site wala da fo site jada kan da mantola itanila mola na bada sansandero la ko ale min plan dola soto mo dila la ko kanto niya jibe ananta bondila ananta bondila because min ga sai aba jada kanda mantawra kan niya jibe loktano min bolla atara fo loktan fla min SOS students village aba ko na already mi ya lon ko fa kuma da wala woda danawla fo ninkela mara mamandula woda mala sora SOS school bijele bakote proper bijele bakote upper bijele and other stuff. So I really plan dollars in the future to evacuate that place. If not evacuate, what are the measures you should take? Thank you.
Sorry, what's the name, sorry?
I'm Abdullah Said, the new health minister for Gambia College students.
Okay, health minister, thank you. Thank you so much. I think that's a very important question. I think that's a very important question about the Bakote dump site. Of course, Bakote dump site is by far the biggest health crisis in the Gambia, and as he rightly said, is by a school, is surrounded by a community, is surrounded by SOS, Save Our Souls, which is a children's orphanage. The Bakote dump site, unfortunately, cannot be solved completely by the Kanifing Municipal Council. The reason being, local councils cannot allocate land. We are not responsible for land management. That mandate and that right and that legality is under the Ministry of Lands and Local Government. So since we came into office, I think what you really want to know is what strides and what steps have we taken to try to locate the dump site. And just also, we just don't want to relocate it. We want it to be in a place where it's remote, one. Two, it is not just a dump site, but an engineered landfill. So the Bakote dump site faces what in the Western world they call the NIMBY problem, not in my backyard. Today, if we take the Bakote dump site away from KMC, who would like the Bakote dump site in their neighborhood? Would you like it in West Coast region, in Jabang, in Birkama? Nobody wants it. So the right thing for government to do is to come up with a strategy to ensure that when we do close Bakote, we come up with what we call an engineered landfill. So the dump site, if it's to maintain or remain, should be changed from a dump site to what they call a transfer station. I know you're the health minister, and you probably know some environmental studies. Transfer stations are locations where waste is taken to, sorted, recycled, and what cannot be reused is transferred to an engineered landfill where it is buried correctly. Buried correctly in the sense, when they dig a hole, they create a membrane. The membrane in some countries they create it with clay, in other countries they create it with a film. The reason being, over time, as that waste decomposes, the leachage doesn't go down and poison the water table. So with Bakote dump site, what we are facing is a risk of the water table for up to 5 kilometers radius being poisoned. This is water you're drinking from your wells. This is water you are showering in. And who knows, many deaths are happening in Gambia, and the autopsy report is not concluded or conclusive. It may be as a result of chemicals being thrown into the water table by the Bakote dump site. So we have engaged government, we have engaged the West Coast region. We created a task force. This task force, Banjul City Council was there, KMC was there, BAC, and Ministry of Environment, and of course Ministry of Lands and Local Government. We identified 3 sites. This was in 2019. And the site they eventually chose as the appropriate site to transfer the Bakote dump site or to create an engineered landfill was Faraba. But we all know the history in Faraba with Gambia government. So when the community was engaged, they rejected it. And for this reason, we as a local council don't have the power to transfer the backwater dump site. As you know, KMC is also the most urbanized municipality. It is the most built-up municipality. There is no remote lands. So this is solely the responsibility of the Ministry of Lands and local government. But for the past 5 years, we've been advocating that they must take this step. Because the backwater dump site, as we speak, is having a lot of flooding problems now during the rainy season because it's full to capacity. In the dry season, it is burning. It is disturbing the health of the entire community of Bakwate, Manjai, and Dipakunda. So we need it moved. It is overdue. It is long overdue. But this is now at the table of the Ministry of Lands of local government. What we can do as a council is to mitigate the risk. So as you have seen in the past 5 years, we have used taxpayers' funds and created a 1.8-kilometer fence to keep the hazards within. We have also, with the German government and the SOS, secured a grant of up to $42 million to build infrastructure in there. If you go there today, you will see that we have built concrete roads. We are building a recycling hangar. We are bringing a shredding machine. We are building a water filtration system to keep fires off. So we are doing as much as we can as council, but it's time for government to step in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another question?
Diplomacy and international relations. Lord Mayor, I have so many questions for you. And I believe today is my great day to face you. But I will give you 2 questions. Yes. Yeah. We have Mbalit project. And that Mbalit project is the most talked about in this municipality. Here in KMC, we are paying tax. We are paying house rent. But this Mbalit project, the KMC is collecting money. And my question is, what are those money is used for? And the second question is, since ministerial post is a political appointment, and you are in a different political party with the ruling government, what is your relationship with the Minister of Local Government and Lands? Since you've made mention that the council is not responsible to allocate lands for the dump site, what is your relationship with the local Minister of Local Government and Lands, since you are in a different political party?
Sorry, the name was? Amadou. Thank you, Amadou. I think that's a very important question. If I may just say, the Mbalit project is the most talked about project in the municipality because it's the greatest project this municipality has ever embarked on. As you have seen with the latest CEPRAS survey, 4% of Birkama Area Council residents say their waste is being collected by the council. Imagine, 4%. In KMC is above 70%. And before we came into council, it was less than 1%. When you go to BCC, a much smaller area, but of course they've done well, is 99%. But for me, I think KMC has done better because, one, most of our road infrastructure is not built, unlike Banjul. Two, Banjul is 5% of our population. So if we can collect 75% of over 500,000 people's waste on a daily basis, 85,000 households, 35,000 compounds, 15,000 businesses, I think this is why the Mbalit project is the most talked about project. Now, your question was, why are we asking people to pay upfront? Now, when we were coming up with this project, remember, we came from a position of weakness, a position of desperation, because we did not find anything on the ground. There was literally 2 tractors, open tractors, that we found on the ground. Now, of course, that cannot collect any waste in this municipality. And aside from the households, we also have 19 markets. So we had to come up with something bold something unprecedented that could solve this problem once and for all. And we had to be bright and brilliant because we did not have the resources, nor did we have the credibility. Nobody trusted KMC at that point to work with us. So we had to come up with the Mbalit project. And this was a project that we advertised to the general public via what we call an expression of interest. Now, based on this expression of interest, businesses can come and say, okay, I have a solution. I think I can solve the waste problem. Based on the people who approached us, we realized that, okay, we may be able to find partners. Then let's go to tender. And the rules of procurement of the Gambia, via the GPPA Act, is you must advertise an RFP. So we advertised a request for proposal. We received 2 bids, one from TK Motors and one from Espas Motors. The TK Motors bid, though, did not have a pre-financing arrangement, and we don't have money. We found a $9 million overdraft when we came to KMC in 2018. So naturally, we had to go with somebody who could pre-finance, leaving Espas alone. So Espas went into negotiations with our contracts committee. I'm sorry for taking a long route, but I just want you guys to appreciate the context of the Mbalit project. So based on that pre-financing arrangement and that negotiation, we entered into contract for the procurement of 24 trucks. Every ward is allocated 1, plus 4 trucks that would do general service for public areas and public institutions. So this is how it started. Now, how do we pay for this project? Where 80% of KMC residents are non-compliant when it comes to their property rates. Many people will tell you they pay their rates. I dare you to ask them for their receipt. They cannot produce it. We are only able to collect about 20% of people's property rates. And the reason being is what is wrong with Gambia in general. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, addresses were not instituted. Urban planning was not conducted very well. So if you do not know where somebody lives, who owns a certain property, it will be very difficult to collect taxes effectively from that person. And this is the same problem utilities companies are facing. This is the same problem telecoms is facing. This is the same problem most businesses are facing. Remember, when you were younger, probably not you, because you are very young, but in the 80s, Gambia had billing system. People who are in their 40s now will remember that Gamtel used to give you bills. NAWEC used to give you electricity bills. How come today everybody is paying prepaid? It's because there's no addressing system. You cannot trace bill payers. I remember about 10 to 15 years ago, NAWEC had areas, Gamtel had areas of up to $2 billion in unpaid bills. So this is why utilities now, for example, cash power, you have to pay to get service. Same as with your telephone. You have to buy credit to be able to make calls. It is because something is fundamentally wrong with how we are developing the Gambia. We are building a Gambia with no foundation. So when we came to say, how can we effectively pay for this Mbalit project, we realized the revenue was not there. Council was making, at that time in 2018, $117 million a year with a $9 million overdraft, meaning our bills and our expenses and our revenue was on par, and there was a budget deficit. So we had to come with a novel idea of how do we charge upfront for the waste. And remember, this is just a token. We're charging people $10 on collection. Effectively, that accumulates to $15 million a year for the entire municipality. But to keep the Mbalit project up and running cost the council up to $20 million a year. So we are effectively actually making a deficit when it comes to those charges. Who pays for the difference, $5 million, is the taxes. And who is actually paying for the purchase of the truck is the taxes. So the reason we are charging that token, 1, is to control the limit of waste a person can put in the truck. Because we have to control that for the project to work. if people are putting any amount of waste, unlimited amounts of waste, it would not be fair, meaning you would miss certain compounds because one person has put too much waste. So that's why we charge, for one reason. The other reason is also sustainability. The former council once had 20 tractors, which is actually not the right equipment for waste collection. Tractors are for farming. Because for one, when you use a tractor, as it goes, it will drop waste on the highway. For two, it has a very limited capacity. Three, it stenches the entire environment when it passes. So that's the wrong equipment. But remember, the council once had tractors. How come when we came into office, they were not there? Sustainability. We do not want a time where we leave office, another person comes and has to start from scratch. That is not progress. That is regressing. And these machinery cost a lot of money. So because we have a replenishment plan, and until such a time, everybody is paying their taxes, we had to do this service, pay for service upfront. Secondly, you asked about our relationship with the Minister of Local Government. I have no problem with the Minister of Local Government. Once we were close buddies, maybe not so much anymore. But government is not personal. This is a public institution. These are offices that are owned by the public. We are occupants who are servants at a short period in time. So I don't see our relationship as an impediment to cooperation or for the reason of serving Gambians' supreme interests. However, there is a challenge, of course, between local governments and central governments. And I think this challenge is not partisan completely. It is a bit complicated because, of course, I am an opposition party, but it is a power struggle, we call it. Because remember, in the time of a mayor called Lai Conte, he was the same party with the president of the day, and they were fighting on a daily basis. So this is Gambia's democratic system maturing. In our constitution, it recognizes pluralism. What that is Gambia's governance system recognizes many authorities and decentralization and devolution of power. However, in practice, government still wants to monopolize power and control. And this is the struggle that councils encounter on a daily basis. I think it is just Gambian institutions or Gambia government maturing and understanding that they cannot do the heavy lifting alone. They need councils to also develop their communities as they develop the macro issues. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. And please...
So, when you say rumors, I don't know how to respond to rumors. I mean, if you have a rumor, you have to back it with evidence. And I think yesterday I was on radio, on Faraya Radio, and the journalist had the same question. I said, well, I think I should ask you. You're a journalist. Your fundamental role is to investigate and prove rumors and hearsay and come and report. KMC is a public institution. All the documents are public. All our processes are public. And people do not know that mayors are not signatories to any account. Mayors do not have access to money. The chairperson of the contracts committee of every council, by law, is the chief executive officer. So we do not have a role in the procurement of services or equipment for councils. However, when you say, I hear a rumor that it is a scam, these are very loose things. But I will tie it back to the other question. I think it was from Babukar. I think from Amadou. I think what happens in Gambia sometimes is that people fight progress instinctively and they don't even know why. I mean, you were living in a time where you had no waste collection service. Now you have trucks going on a daily basis to your doorstep. And all of a sudden, it's a problem for some people to accept. And because it's a problem now, that they feel that this should not exist or this certain person should not be this progress, now I have to create rumors to minimize this progress. But what they're doing effectively is they're demoralizing others who might have similar ideas. They're demotivating others who might want to bring landmark changes, who might want to have impact. And I think that's very negative for young people like yourselves. Of course, I am a public officer. I am open to scrutiny. And of course, I must accept the challenge of having to prove that things are done correctly and monies of taxpayers are accounted for in my council. But when you do come up with a rumor, or when you come up with an accusation, I think the rightful thing to do, fair play dictates that you must also back it with evidence. I think I'll rest my case there.
Thank you. Okay.
Opportunity to ask you a question. This is very, very important, and thank you very much for allowing deaf people to also participate in this. It is very important. Thank you. I am a student of, yes. What about persons with disabilities or deaf people? I think we also need to have access to some of these things. Because the reason why I came up with this decision to stop electronics is to make ends meet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elijah, right?
Elijah, yes.
Elijah, you have talents and skills. And of course, going to be an electrician, we really are happy about that. I'm very proud of you. I first want to say that KMC, I think, has done unprecedented things when it comes to people of differently able. I think we're the first council, I dare say maybe the first government institution that has nominated a person from the differently able to come and sit in an elected body to represent their constituents. I don't think that has ever been done. And I think it's been a positive change where government also at the parliamentary level try to copy, and of course other councils, and we are very proud of that, to have initiated that change. We do have a standing committee on education. It is chaired by Councillor Bile Marong, the councillor representing women and children. I think she's here present. We also have a differently able councillor in the name of Momodu Bahum, who was formerly the director at the Gambia Federation of Disabled. And I think all matters as far as education are concerned and as far as your constituents are concerned do go through them. What I would say is council budgets about, I believe, 1 million, up to 1 million for differently able initiatives. And we do have an education budget of, I believe, up to 3 or 4 million, which includes, of course, subventions to our school Charles Jau, and of course support to people who are talented students in need of scholarships. So I think for everybody out there, you write a letter to the office of the mayor, and I do refer it to those committees for scrutiny and decision. Thank you, Elijah.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure when it gives birth, you can ask again.
Absolutely.
Basically, I think your question is in line. Councils are responsible for a vast areas. Just like in other countries, every issue in a municipality or in a region, a council is responsible to provide services, is responsible to provide solutions. However, in Gambia, we don't have a fully decentralized system. Part of decentralization is government must devolve power to councils to allow them to provide these services. As you know well, the education sector is completely monopolized by the Ministry of Education. And of course, there's the basic education and there's the higher education. I think that is responsible for universities. So I think one of the things that the decentralization policy was trying to promote was that government should empower councils, resource councils, make sure councils are capacitized to take care of some of these local issues, such as schooling. Now, how we work around it, like I said, we have an education committee. We cannot completely solve the issues of universities or interfere in their management and the running of these universities. However, we do provide support services. So for example, if your student union or student body or association was to go to a field trip to Dakar, we do sometimes support in the logistics, sometimes support monetarily. It might not be enough, but it is what the council is able to do. Now, in the sense that you would like council to support as far as waste management is concerned? I believe we do. If we don't, that would be a surprise. However, I was at the the MDI over, I think 2 weeks ago, and I spoke to some of the students about how they manage the waste within the school. They found it necessary to conduct a set-setal within the campus. And I thought that was quite surprising, given that these are students who are supposed to be progressives, who are supposed to be the leaders of tomorrow. You should not really be having littering at the campus level. So they had an issue where students were littering all over the place, and they had to conduct a set-setal to clean it up. So I think the relationship you have with waste is quite critical to the future of Gambia, because you're the future leaders. You're the ones to come up with environmental policies. You're the ones to become the Minister of Environment, etc. So I think that needs to be looked at. As far as how we support the campuses within the municipality, I believe MDI, a couple of years ago, we gave them a few hundred bins to help them with their waste management. And I think to date we do collect their waste. Maybe because you come from Birkama, that's why you have different issues. But for KMC, I think we are ahead, like as far as the survey is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The demands at the house is increasing every month. But I think this is the responsibility of government. Regulation of prices in a market is government's responsibility. That is not something we can do. I think this GCC, Gambia Competitive Commission, I think that's the agency that deals with price regulation. And I think it's something that government should intervene in because, of course, we are a country that has a lot of self-employed people and with very low incomes. And one way to protect them, of course, is to provide price ceilings on basics, either through subsidies or etc. I believe in fuel, government says they are providing subsidies, but I think it should be widespread because many people, of course, are suffering and they, of course, rely on remittances for their day-to-day. Unfortunately, as far as the laws of the Gambia are concerned, councils do not have power to interfere in prices of basic commodities.
Thank you.
Action is Mr. Lord Mayor. If you are elected into office, what are the things that you have? What are the plans that you have for the health facilities within your municipality, particularly in provision of ambulance service and paramedics?
It's Ami, right?
Yeah, Ami.
All right. I think as far as health facilities are concerned, it's the same answer with the education. Health is monopolized by the Ministry of Health. However, we do support. I think 3 months back, the council donated 9 ambulances to about 9 community clinics. So I think this is unprecedented, and we will continue to provide as much support as possible. Just this morning, we gave a donation to Serakunda Hospital, including wheelchairs, sanitary napkins, adult diapers, etc. The women councillor just represented us. So with every opportunity we have, with all the partners we can get, we will continue to support the health of the community.
Thank you.
We all know that persons with disabilities struggle a lot when they want to access public buildings, especially those on wheelchairs. So, Mayor, we learned that you've done a lot of projects within this short while, like such as your CAP project and other projects. Are all your buildings accessible to persons with disabilities, especially those on wheelchair?
Sorry, the name was?
Fatima.
Fatmata was here. He's here. He would say in every council meeting, he does advocate for this. Unfortunately, this is not true for all buildings in KMC. It is going to be true for new buildings that we build. And I think this is why we brought your representative on board. Because when I met the people of differently able, persons with disabilities at the Serakunda West Stadium in 2017, when I was campaigning for my first mandate, they asked me, Mayor, we do struggle a lot, lack of basic infrastructure for the people who are differently able, from getting taxis to getting on buses. It was a very emotional meeting, and I said, look, I don't have all the solutions right now. What I can promise, I can get you a representative on council. And I think since then, Momodu has been advocating that in every new building we create, including the public library we are building, to ensure there's ramps, toilets for persons of differently able. 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting to build a assembly hall at Charles Zhao School. And he did ask, is there a toilet for the differently able? And because of that question, is one of the reasons we postponed the meeting for our planning department to create that facility. So I think that's the benefit of having him there.
Thank you very much. I would like the lady up there in red. Don't be like Babu Kara. Can you please step forward a little bit?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Awambay. I'm a student of MBA, studying IR, International Relations. Well, Mayor, when I was coming here today, I met with a woman. I told her that I am going to meet the mayor for the first time, that we are having an interface communication with the mayor. What she told me was that she's very annoyed with you because you said that you are going to remove them on where they used to sit and make sales. That is around Serekunda Market. So I want to ask, you as the mayor and you are planning to pour another mandate, how are you going to tackle your differences with people that are having issues with the plans that you have in the future? Can you please answer that question for us?
So I think this is Madam Bai, right? This is a standard issue we have at KMC. As I said, Gambia has a problem of unemployment. Most people are self-employed, and they would like to go where it's easiest to make an income. And unfortunately, most times, the areas they do choose are areas that are not for selling. And these are pedestrian walkways, these are feeder roads, these are in front of people's compounds. So it is a big challenge, especially around market areas. And for the residents of Bartes, for example, London Corner, we have a big push and pull. Vendors want to leave markets and sell on streets. And of course, residences don't want people to sell in front of their houses. Shops don't want people to sell in front of their businesses. So it's a matter of what is the law and what is best for the greater good. Because one problem we do face in Serekunda, for example, one vendor will leave the market and go sell on the street. Before you know it, the market is empty. Because every other vendor will say, I am paying taxes, I am paying rent, I am sitting inside the market waiting for customers. Why should another person leave the premises of the market and go capture the customers on the street? Meaning the customers never enter the market. So it's a very complex problem. It is not that the mayor will sit and say, oh, go remove this lady or go clear that street. These are laws of the land. And these are bylaws of the council. It is not that the mayor is instructing police to say, do this, do that. No. We are politicians. I want to make everybody happy. I want everybody to vote for me. And this is why we don't even interfere in such activities. We allow the police to operate based on the laws and the policy of the council. But what is true is we do have a street vendor problem. We have a problem where every Gambian feels that they need to sell on the street to make ends meet. But this creates a ripple effect of problems. One, they will block pedestrian routes. Two, they will prevent customers from entering shops of tax-paying vendors. And three, of course, they create a lot of litter. Pay attention to every area that is littered and left littered overnight. It is because of street vendors. Look at the gutters, for example. It is even creating flooding. Because every street vendor by a gutter would use the gutter as their waste bin. And when the rainy season comes, what happens? Flooding occurs. So this is an issue we have all over the municipality. So ask that madam and say it's not mayor who's pushed you off the street. It is actually just standard police operations. Sometimes we even get calls from our own relatives. From our own relatives, we got calls and say, your police officers did this to me, has did that to me. And I said, well, I cannot intervene. That's the job of the police. Because once I intervene, it means that everybody can do it. And I am breaking the law as mayor. So it is not a decision we make. We are policy makers. We make rules for the greater good and allow for those rules to work. So basically, this is my answer for that.
Thank you very much. The young lady right there.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alexata. Okay, so the question I have for the Lord Mayor is, during your tour at the Serekunda market, you promised to build a market worth 40 million. Now, I haven't seen the market yet, but I know it's going to be big. So a market that big, right now, one of the problems KMC has is controlling waste. Now, more market means more waste. What plans do you have to control that amount of waste for a market worth $40 million? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think we have a plan to create 7 markets in KMC and 1,000 vendor spaces. The reason for that plan is actually because of the question that came before yours is about the street vendor problem. So when our police ask street vendors to get off the street and go into the market, a standard complaint we have is there's no space in the market. There's not enough shops in the market. So over the years, we try to develop a carrot and stick approach, meaning we will just not tell people don't sell on the street, but we will try to provide them a safe shop that is with the facilities, meaning public toilets, etc., electricity, where they can be. So we created a company called Canifing Municipal Markets with a plan to create 7 markets over 4 years at a tune of 240 million. So these markets will be placed in diverse areas, in strategic areas around the municipality to ensure that they can accommodate all these vendors. And of course, Serekunda's market is planned to be at Mbari Padembo, which should have 93 shops and will cost around $40 million. I don't think that's going to change the waste dynamic of the municipality. Actually, I think it will help us store and collect waste in a more responsible fashion. Because shopkeepers tend to store their waste better than somebody selling on the street. We will have less waste to collect from the ground and more waste to collect in containers. So I think actually it will help the waste management of the municipality rather than not help it. That's my answer to that.
Thank you. The one right behind you. Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Lord Mayor. My name is Sana Balde, a student of the Gambia College School of Nursing and Midwifery in Banjul. My question to you is a constraint faced by the public, particularly students. If you could observe very well, your office doorstep or front, I can say, is one of the hottest spots of struggle for transport. And one of the reasons are drivers do complain they don't have garage, and it's very obvious that if you go around your council, you will find out that all the garages are located in junctions, causing traffic jam, delay in routes to workplaces, schools, and etc. What plans does your council have for these issues that the public and particularly students are facing, preventing them from attending lectures on time and going back to their respective residences on time, facing so many other difficulties on routes going to and from work, school, and whatsoever? Thank you.
Thank you. That is a very important question. I think I answered it 2 days ago at some interview. It is true, all the garages that are in KMC are either at the street junctions or in front of houses or in random areas. Over the years, there has not been the creation of garages around the municipality, meaning well-structured garages with proper infrastructure. The problem is we have an issue with urban planning. Let me say it like that. In municipalities around the world, municipalities or local government authorities are allowed to do urban planning, meaning land use is decided at the local council, zoning is decided at the local councils, even with billboards, where you can have billboards, where you cannot have them, what standard of billboards you should have, etc. But in the Gambia, councils are not responsible or are not allowed to manage the land resources within their region. And this creates the problem. Because the reason councils are created in the first place is to create that closeness to the local community, meaning your desires, your thoughts, your ideas, the struggles you go through, we are in a position to create solutions. And part of creating those solutions is the ability to do land management. So when you go to, for example, Madison City Council in the United States, the mayor told me they do land planning up to 30 years in consultation with the community, where a church can be, where a mosque can be, where certain businesses can be, the heights of buildings, etc. And councils control this through permits and licenses. But in the Gambia, no council has authority to allocate land or to create land planning or urban planning. As we speak, KMC has 40-something properties, meaning markets, community centers, football parks, etc. Can you believe 3 years ago, we asked for the leases of these properties, just so we can safeguard the wealth of the municipality and the people. And to date, we have not received a single lease. So even the office I sit in, even the building we are in, we don't have a lease for it. And this is what we talk about as far as devolution of power is concerned. Today, if I cannot even get a lease for the very building I sit in, or for the very market I own, or the football field I own, how can I create car parks? How can I create new resources for people? How can I create new services that depend on land resources? It's not possible. Also, when the OIC project started, and when we came into office in 2018, we had a consultation meeting about roads they intended to build within the municipality. One of the major problems that came up was car sellers and mechanics on the areas of roads they were supposed to expand. And we came up with a plan. Through a task force we developed, the Ministry of Infrastructure was there, Works and Transport was there, the Ministry of Lands was there, OIC Secretariat was there, the Secretary General's office from the State House was there. We identified 3 areas we thought would make perfect garages. One was in Abuko, one was in Kamalo. These are border areas to KMC, and one was central in Kotu. However, this plan was killed at some point by the Ministry of Lands and Local Government, i.e. they had other plans for those lands. So without the control at the local government authority, because we are directly answerable to the people, it would be very difficult for us to create services or manage resources that could plow back benefits to the people. So we do want to create garages. We believe there's termination points in the municipality. Like I said, when you're leaving our municipality going to Banjul, or coming through our municipality from Banjul, that's the Kamalo area, and of course Abuko. And we wanted a central one that where cars can park for transit. But without control over our own land resources, this is not possible. And this is why every time we are crying that we want devolution of power. We want the Constitution to be amended, or the Local Government Act, sorry, not the Constitution, the Local Government Act to be amended to give more power to councils to manage their affairs and the resources within their borders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take one last question from that end, and then we'll go for a quick break. And then I'll come to this side.
My name is Tira Dede.
Just 3 days ago, and we heard these complaints, and actually it's at the committee level right now to look at the prices again. I think when you go to Serakunda, being a more cosmopolitan area, more a busy area, is cheaper than Latrikunda Savage. So I can assure you, as we speak, is at the committee level being looked at. I was just there 2 days ago at the market itself, and we did hear these complaints. The youth councillor is here, Kemo Bojang. One of the things he's trying to advocate for is that when we do develop these new structures, we create affirmative action, meaning there's a quota that we will allocate to youths in business. So I think that would be an initiative that he would champion once these markets are completed.
Thank you very much. And at this juncture, we will go for a quick 10-minute break. When we're back, more.
And also trying to fix waste management or trying to find trucks. That should never happen again in KMC. If somebody else comes, they should find that, okay, waste management has been fixed by the previous council. The institution has been strengthened. Checks and balances has been introduced. Now what new can we do? I think this is what progress is. It is an ongoing process. So KMC, after with Madison, we facilitated an MOU with the University of the Gambia to help exchange. So we do leverage on our international partnerships to also support schools and colleges. So that's something that we do.
Thank you very much. My name is Momodu Jane, the Assistant Secretary General of the Media Academy for Journalism and Communication Student Union. So aside of all the questions that were asked, Lord Mayor, the question that I want to ask you, with the high rate of crime within the Kanifing municipality, which is most at time connected to the issue of underemployment of young people. As the Lord Mayor, what mechanisms do you have, even though you have employed a host of young people who are currently working under your council, but what other mechanisms do you have to employ more young people in order to cope the high crime rate within KM and also to make KMC a safe place for everybody living within KMC? Thank you.
So KMC, I believe, based on latest statistics, has almost 300,000 youths. These are people who are from below the age of 35. That's a large number of youths. I believe more than 50% or 50% are unemployed. But in many cases, I think also some of them are self-employed, but because you really cannot get those statistics, we just say they are unemployed or underemployment, meaning that they don't have the required level of work to sustain themselves and their families. KMC as an institution has 1,400 workers. So there's no chance we can employ enough people directly to have any meaningful impact on youth unemployment within the region. However, what we can do is we can spur economic activity. We can be a catalyst for economic activity, and through our programs and policies and activities, we can create youth businesses or youths engaged in productive sectors. So for example, our youth councilor came up with a $20 million revolving fund that gives small loans to youths in business. And you are right, because of these high unemployment figures, and given that KMC is an urban environment, it's a very densely populated environment, the most densely populated in the Gambia. When you look at the country, the average person per kilometer square is 176 people. In KMC, it's 5,000 people per kilometer square. Household sizes here are also way larger than the average in the rest of the country. So people live in very dense environments where there's a lot of unemployment, and there's a chance that we can create what we call urban slums. And this is all breeding grounds for crime. And when you look at the statistics recently, it is quite appalling. I don't know the exact figures, but I can just say based on reported crime I get at the Security Task Force level, which as the mayor, I am the head in my region, the amount of murders, the amount of drug abuse, the amount of drug cases are all on the rise. This is largely because of population growth, economic depression, and of course, lack of employment. So I think 3 months back, we had a case where a youth was caught with 800 kilos of cocaine in Kololi Tavak. And these stories are becoming more regular. So what we can do at the Kanifing Municipal Council is how to create programs that engage the youth in either extracurricular activities or help them start positive businesses. So in extracurricular activities, we just mentioned the parks, the amenities we are trying to create So youth have positive things to do, whether be it in sports, whether be it in the arts and culture, whether be it in skills and trade or whatnot. This is what we are focused on. And hopefully, through our initiatives, we want to be in a position to create a lot of youth millionaires that can also give employment to fellow youths. Recently, we are also developing a library which I told you about. This library will not be an ordinary library. It will have an innovation hub and a repair cafe, meaning youths of various interest areas can come and use that library, from virtual reality, 3D printing, arts and craft, etc. We are also looking to build a theater, an arts and culture theater. We don't yet have the funding, but we have the design. It should be next to the library. It will be a 500-seater theater, and it will have also a gallery. For young artists who are coming up, we can display their arts and try and sell it for them. We've seen this work very well in Ghana, where young artists in Accra, in the National Theater or National Gallery, the gallery will display their arts. They can sell it as high as $200,000, $5,000, and get a commission. So these are things we are trying to copy that are positive. But in the larger issue of youth unemployment, I think it's a macro issue, it's a national issue. I think the government needs to come up with policies that will attract foreign direct investment. That's the only way that we can employ large portions of our population and get them productive and less crime.
Thank you very much. I would like to say at this point, we're almost at the end, but I will pick 3 questions. That means from every group, you get a chance for 1 question. So here. Yeah, hand it to him. He's been up here. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I've been raising my hand since.
You have, finally.
Thank you. Okay, assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. My name is Kabir Nias. Lord Mayor, thank you. Let me just say that the council have been doing great work with regards to sport, entrepreneurship, and also youth engagement. And I believe you guys really deserve an applause. To start with, my question is related to the gentleman when he asked, and directly your answer, that is the response that you gave. I'm so passionate when it comes to sport. And looking at what the council have been doing, I think it's very positive. But I have a concern. And maybe, I don't know whether there are guiding policies with regards to that also running it. You talk about the parks that we have, the community parks that we have. We understand that the community parks are not, operationally, they are not run by the council. They are run by sport committees, that is local sport committees, that are elected by the football teams playing in those various parks. When we go back to the team looking at transparency and accountability, it is a big concern. It is a concern because you realize that these parks, they raise up to 4 million or 5 million plus if you look at the budget that they do annually for Nawetans. And at the end of the day, if you look at the returns or the impact that these funds that are collected have in these parks is very minimal. It's very minimal. So I was thinking differently. Looking at the parks, knowing that they are run by sport committees that are elected by teams. And if you look at the parks, the documents that they sign, the MOUs that they sign with institutions, with partners, council have little or no say over them. I know that the president of the park has a seat in council, that is KM Sport. But you realize, even with that, documents that they sign, it is not sent to KM Sport. KM Sport have no say over those issues because it is the responsibility of the executive, sitting executive, and the stakeholders to decide on these issues. And these are sensitive issues, knowing that council owns the park. The park are owned by council. These sets of individuals will decide on behalf of the entire community. And if we look at the productive of sport and these complexes, they have, looking at the disciplines of sport, both we talk of martial arts, football, volleyball, basketball, all sporting activities, these parks coordinate them. Now, looking at council, can it be diverse? Council maybe take the responsibility of managing these parks in terms of accountability, the amount of funds that will be raised, all of this council will coordinate it so that at least you realize that development can come. Because the parks will sometimes sign MOU with JFF. 20 years they will sign an MOU with JFF, and at the end, JFF will not develop the parks as they are supposed to develop. Young people will not have access to the park to play football or do any other activity that they are supposed to do in these parks.
And it's a big, big concern. There is no development over these years. Let's just look at the parks that we have. No development. And I believe if council should take ownership, council may be employ those that will stay in the park, manage the affairs of the park, the funds that are coming into the park, accountability, at least there will be transparency, and council will be able to send auditors to exactly know what is happening within the park. But that is not happening. The millions that are collected, teams will grumble, shout and fight, and at the end of the day, we say we will change the committee, nothing comes out of it. All those funds will go in vain. I think maybe it's a concern, and I don't know what strategies or do you have in place, seeing to it that millions are collected in these parks. The parks are just left like that. Nothing happens after now time. The parks are just like that. And young people always go to these parks. Thank you.
I think you are a member of the KM Sports.
I'm the PRO of KMYC.
That's why you know so much. I think this is you have described it perfectly. You know, when I came into office, I once visited SESDO. Serakunda is Sports Committee. The one at Serakunda is. And definitely, when you looked at the state of the facilities, even the toilets, they did not clean them on a daily basis. So the state of the park was so appalling. The moment I assumed office, that was my first question. Why is it that councils own these parks and they are being run by people who are not managing it very well? And that's when I learned about the history of the parks and how it was handed back to the communities to run. To the point that a lot of communities are confused about even the ownership of the parks. You hear them say, no, KMC Momoko, community Bakomo. And I will always say, whatever the community owns, KMC Mokomo. Because KMC is elected to manage the affairs of the community and the assets of the community. And who is that community? Whenever we hear people use the word community, we feel that it's a small interest group trying to hide behind the name community. Because the community is the elected councillor. The community is the elected mayor. These are the people recognized by law who are supposed to manage the affairs of the community. So basically what has been happening in the parks is like you said. That's why even with Serakunda West, we conditioned them. We told them the only way we can get you development in this park is if you agree as a committee to hand the management of the facility to KMC. You can manage the sports, we will manage the facility. They agreed. That's why we found that deal for them. Because nobody will invest in a park where a committee will sit and be running it as they like. Because if I invest my money, that committee starts mismanaging the facility. Remember, and they have a lifetime. They are voted every 4 years. If they leave, another radical committee comes, my investment is a risk. So people will only agree to enter partnership with the council, which is a legally mandated authority to run that facility. So what we are saying, we are trying to use the Serakunda West development as a pilot project. If it works, and when it works, and I believe it will work, we will then take back each park one by one and bring development. So this is the strategy we want to use. But like you rightly said, there's a lot of money being made by these parks that are under-declared. So what we will also look at is to, like you suggested, try to have more involvement, which is the audit. But to our surprise, like you said, the same teams that are grumbling about the committees, if you try to change those committees, are the same teams that will fight you. So it is quite a complex relationship. We don't want to take anybody's power. We don't want to exploit anybody. We just want grassroots football to work. We just want the parks to bring maximum benefits to the youths. But like you rightly said, if a committee cannot do that, definitely the council has to intervene at some point to make sure those facilities are made available. But remember, it is very politically sensitive, and one can lose a lot of political capital because the very people you may be trying to help can be the very people fighting you. We've seen it in Bakau, where they burned the field. Did you hear about that story? When they was trying to bring some development there, and the youth burned the field. We've seen Father Gov in Manjai Park. where there was a multi-million-dollar facility there, tough, AstroTurf, which is quite modern facility, but because of this fighting about control and money, go there now. It's destroyed. The AstroTurf is destroyed. So Serakunda West is a model. We think where the teams will win, the committee will win, the investor will win, the council will win. When it works, we will try to roll it across the municipality.
Thank you very much. Young lady.
Goes straight like this. In your capacity as the Lord Mayor of KMC, you rightly said anything that will deal with the physical, it will be too critical to deal with. I want to say this. Serving the interest of the students of this nation, in my capacity, I will see it as there should be no jurisdiction in it. Because these same students will be the future leaders of this nation, are already the leaders in the making of this country. So I want to see this as anything that matters to the students should do away from matters of jurisdiction. And let's see the future of this nation at first. As you rightly said here, that anything that comes in developmental plans, partisan politics should do away from it. Then jurisdiction also should do away when it comes to matters interest to the students. Like in your capacity again as the Lord Mayor, what plans do you have to make sure that the same institution we are talking about, accumulating around 15,000 students above, is not even having a correct water supply? It's not having a correct union complex whereby the students who are running the affairs of the union who are running the affairs of the students don't even have what you call an office where they can sit and run these affairs of the students. That's number one. Number two, we want to also promote sports in our institution, but there is no means how we can promote sports. There is nothing in the office of the sports. Thank you very much.
So, the reason we say jurisdiction is a matter of legality. So when you look at the council, we are guided by two acts mainly. There's the Local Government Act and there's the Finance and Audit Act. In the Finance and Audit Act, it says where tax is generated, the revenues of those taxes should not be used in other regions where the tax is not generated. So local councils are different from national government. National governments, of course, the taxes are national and their jurisdiction is all over the country. For us, remember, we have a constituents that pays us taxes to solve their local problems. So it is not allowed for us to take their taxes and solve another jurisdiction's problem. But like I said, with the university it's tricky. Because though your campus is situated in another region, you have students, a lot of them from KM, attending your university. So that is the gray, what they call the gray area of the law. Whereas even people paying taxes in KMC are attending your school because they're a national institution. It just happens to be you have a campus in a different region. So that we have to sit, you have to visit. We have to discuss with our administration, look at our policies, also seek legal advice. What is possible is that we can create opportunities to support your school through our networks and our partners to bring you borehole, for example, and other materials you may need. That we can do through leveraging partnerships we have. So it's not that we are abandoning you. We're just saying we have legal bottlenecks we have to review before we can spend taxpayers' money in your campus. That's it.
Thank you very, very much.
It's late, and it's costume, and I hope we work on that. I wish to thank everybody here, and most especially to Mr. Bensouda for giving us, Mayor.
Lord Mayor.
Okay, for giving us the opportunity to ask questions, even though I didn't have the opportunity, and I desperately wanted to ask him a question. It's okay, my fellow students did, and that's enough. Thank you for involving the students. This is really great, and I hope that all these questions that you've been asked and you answered, we hope to see progress. And the answers that you gave us, we hope to see them. Well done on your achievements and good luck on the elections. Once again, thank you to the students. There's nothing that is gained out of this. But I believe that your doubts have been cleared, even if not all, but majority of the doubts have been cleared, and this is what we hope to see. The gathering and the turnout is really good. I really wasn't expecting it when I first came here, because when I came here, there was nobody. There was just 2 people, and in the end, I show up. The only thing we need to work on is time. Please, this issue of Gambian time needs to be tackled. Thank you.
Thank you.